and welcome to another episode of the Oops.
What's up, Mr. Williams? Hey, look, I ain't forget that butt whipping y'all gave us last time in spades, man. So trust me, I've been plotting on that thing. And Mr. Bonds, how you doing over there?
Good, man. Good.
Right.
I see the chief.
And Starbucks drinks are store the fellas.
She said she got a mess with me and make them jealous. I'm puffing on the guard, politicking with the fellas. We go full throttle, our motto never let a mayonnaise. Just want our ketchup, but they never let us. She want my chicken wing, I ain't talking lemon pepper. She dancing in the rain, what that mean? I gotta wet her. Broke ass nigga, get your life together. When you politicking with the fellas, I call her bad bitch, say she wanna politic. All she really wanna
To say the other show. Welcome to another episode of the fellas. I'm your boy B.Bond, and the fellas are here. We are back, ready to rock, ready to roll. We got some guests with us today. We got a nice little topic for y'all. Happy Juneteenth. This is when y'all are going to be watching this episode. Hope y'all are out there enjoying the weather, getting your barbecue on, out there in the sun, doing whatever it is you guys want to do on Juneteenth. But we got something for y'all to partake in today. And without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off. Y'all have watched, Black Excellence. Y'all have watched Black Excellence Part 2. Y'all have watched our episode on fatherhood. You have watched statistical analysis Part 1 and 2. Today, we are bringing y'all elder statesmen. We the younger fellas, and these are the young fellas. You know what I'm saying? Younger and young. I ain't gonna call them old, but we are gonna say they elder statesmen from the fatherhood episode. You heard me talk about this young man where he taught me everything I needed to know about being a black dad, about being a father in general. So without further ado, I want to introduce my pop, my dad, my father, Pastor, soon to be Dr. Bond. Let me give him a hand. Pastor Bond, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How y'all doing, people? I'm Kenneth Bond, Brandon's dad. And he talked about Black excellence. And what came to mind as he was talking was the willingness to accept our mistakes, right? So, because we made a lot of them. And so over the years, we've been doing this for a long time, had him when we were 18, 19 years old. So we've been kicking it for a long time as father and sons. So through that, made a lot of mistakes, but overcame. And so he sees me as Black excellence. I'm honored that he would even say that. But Air Force, 22 years, professional career since I was born, working in the grocery stores and all the way up until retiring from the Air Force, ended my career on the commission side. So after I finished education, I applied and became what Major Williams is, sitting right there. That's where I retired as well. And so we are just blessed to have achieved that and just on in my career, bivocational, as they say, getting that military retirement in addition to working. And so we are blessed in that regard. So that being said, that's who I am. Been married for 36 years and three sons, Brandon, his younger brother, Bryce, then our youngest, Xavier, who's 12 years old. Soon I'll see him in the NFL, about 5'9", 160 pounds. He's on his way. So y'all just keep us in your prayers.
All right. That's my pop. That's my dad. Moving on down the list, we have Julius and B Money. Y'all want to introduce y'all's dad?
Real quick, I talked about it on Black Excellence Part 2. That's my dad. He's sitting there, of course, with my brother Jew. Just shake me, but I'll allow them to take more to lead since they been blessed to be able to be next to each other.
Juice here. Definitely got my pops here from Virginia, straight out to LA, sunny LA. And you heard what we said in the fatherhood episode. He was our excellence realized, both for me and B Money. So great role model, great guy. So I'm just gonna let him introduce himself and go hit a couple of the accolades.
Hello, everyone. I'm Simeon Williams. Old man, 60 years old. Thank God I'm still here. trying to stay healthy as possible, still getting on that Peloton, riding hard every day, competing against those 20, 30-year-olds. I'm very proud of my sons, Brandon and Julius. When I look at them, all I can say is, thank God for blessing me with sons, strong Black men. A little bit about myself. I was born in Prince George County, Virginia, back in 1960. Been working since I was a little kid, from mowing lawns, cutting wood, doing anything I could, hustling since age 11. Went into the Air Force. I served for 30 years in the Air Force, retired as a Chief Master Sergeant. Now I'm working with a software development company, and I've been just truly blessed over my life. My current marriage, I've been getting ready to celebrate 14 years. I have 7 wonderful grandchildren that I'm extremely proud of. So with that being said, I'm just extremely blessed. And I applaud you, young men. I've watched a few of your episodes, and I applaud you for being strong Black men. And we'll talk a little bit more later. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate that. Moses, if you don't mute your truck in the background, man, we're going to have some issues, brother. All we hear is beep, beep, beep. And every time you run over something,
Hey, I'll take the blame for that. I'm outside. I'm outside, Ship. That's that's the truck behind me.
Assuming and blaming.
All right. Now we're going to move over to my right. T, you want to introduce Tony?
Oh, yeah. My pleasure. I've just been so blessed to call this guy friend, to call him brother. I mean, he's just an amazing man of God, amazing father. In my mind, every time I see him, I call him Mr. 06, Mr. because he's doing the thing, definitely a good guy. So I'll just let him really expound on his accolades and things of that nature.
Hey everybody, my name is Antonio Hyde, Tony for short. Before I do a little bio, I just really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna talk a little bit later, but you guys have definitely been an inspiration to me and putting thoughts in my head. You challenging me to think about what excellence looks like, and so I really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate Tori for asking me to be a part of this. I really feel honored and blessed. And just watching him grow as a man, as a husband, as a father, from our sessions at 2:00 in the morning at his house till now, it's really been a blessing seeing you grow. And so I appreciate you. So a little bit about me. I'm a native of Chicago, Illinois. I joined the Navy in 1993. And quickly after that, I got commissioned. And so I've been, I got commissioned in 99 as a surface warfare officer, and been, deployed on 6 ships, over 10 years at sea, shore duties and all of that stuff. And most recently I had command of the USS Fort Worth as the commanding officer. And then I just put on 06 last year. So colonel for you guys, captain for me. And I'm currently stationed here at the Pentagon. I've been married to my beautiful wife, Linda, for 26 years, and we got 5 kids, and I got 2 twin boys, and it's just a new level of life with these grandkids. I'm loving it. So I'm looking forward to the conversation, and thank you very much for letting me participate.
All right, let me give everybody.
Before you say,
hold on.
Get your pods. Hey, I want to say one thing to all the folks out there. When I pinned on captain back when I was in Omaha, brother Tony actually did my oath of office. So, we have some deep ties there. So it's good to have all y'all on.
Most definitely. And so just to give y'all some background about what we were trying to accomplish with this episode, y'all hear from the fellas all the time. Like I said, we are younger fellas, and these are the older fellas. Are the young fellas, and what we want to do is bring some wisdom into the conversation. We've experienced some things growing up as Black men in America, and we wanted to get the perspective of some of our older gentlemen that have been, witnessing this thing since the beginning. We've witnessed a lot since the beginning of this pandemic, from George Floyd, him getting murdered, to call it what it is, him getting murdered. We've seen some other things of racism, the Black Lives Matter movement. We've seen some things happening, within the office and all that kind of stuff. So we just wanted to get some wisdom on this podcast, on this particular episode, and allow them to expound on some of the things that we may have already talked on off air, on air. We got some questions, and we're going to shoot from the hip from there. Y'all got anything y'all want to add to that? Moses, you got anything, brother?
I do. So first of all, everybody who's on the show, once again, like everybody else said, I want to thank y'all. Everybody, the fathers that's up here, I want to thank y'all for help raising these young men to be who they are, to become my friends. Just want to say y'all did a great job in raising those guys and having them reflect what y'all taught them. Because I wouldn't have associated myself with them if they didn't have common sense. So I definitely want to thank Mr. Bonds and Mr. Williams and Mr. Tony. Even though I don't know you, Mr. Tony, and I know, you're not Torian's father, but obviously he learned something from you. So I just want to thank all three of y'all for stepping up here on the show today. Most definitely.
Definitely. And I just want to say thank y'all for jumping on as well. I know T's at a track meet for his son, watching his son run the 100. He got the 200 coming up. He just made the 100 meter dash finals. You got Moses down there working. So definitely we appreciate y'all for jumping on. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. This one actually came from Brother T. How does being Black change how you view success? And how did you stay consistent and overcome the stereotypes? T, you want to expound on where that question came from?
I just felt like everyone's culture, your race, it really, it kind of dictates how you look at things. I know this question really came up because I know like Tony is from Chicago, and we had those discussions about how rough it was growing up and just being Black, and I've been a Black male, and all of them have so much success. I mean, it's just, everyone on this podcast has overwhelmingly beat the statistics. So it just resonated with me to ask them, how did they view success and how did they stay consistent, in their time, because our time is a lot easier. No matter how you look at it, it's a lot easier because we have more opportunities afforded to us.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first since Tori talked, right? I've been thinking about this stuff. Every time I listen to y'all podcast, I spend a bunch of time thinking about it on the way to work, talking to folks, talking to Tori, like I said, you guys have been really challenging me to think about what it looks like. And so for me, I think that you guys hit some of it on the head when you started talking about how you describe excellence. It's not just Black excellence, it's excellence. And so we really have to be careful to make sure that the standard is the standard. And, because we put a label on it, it doesn't diminish what it is. And so I really appreciate you guys defining what excellence is. Growing up, coming up when I was a young man, my success was me focused. It was about what I needed to do. I mean, it was always, I was always thinking about what I wanted to provide, but it was really about what I wanted to do. But as I get older and I look at it, my success is not about me at all. It's about the legacy that I leave. It's about the trees that's going to grow from the seeds that I plant that I'll never get to see. And so now I take a look at it, and success for me is making sure that my grandson's my grandson's floor is my ceiling. That he's not starting on the ladder rungs that he's starting where I left off at. They starting where I left off at. And so what does that legacy look like? How am I creating, a culture of excellence in my family and among my friends and at my workplace so that that culture persists and it lasts, and my family and the people that I get the chance to inspire and lead, that they know what right looks like, and it's not only that they don't even have to think about doing it. It's just that's what's ingrained in them because they strive to be excellence, because that's what I hope to inspire them to do. And so now for me, excellence is all about legacy. It's not about me at all. And so the things that I strive to do, it's about who I can get the opportunity to love, and who I can get the opportunity to give to with regards to success. And then as I progress, just kind of looking back at my life, the things that allow me to stay consistent and overcome stereotypes, really, I tried to boil it down to three things. And it's passion. So, whatever I'm doing, even if it's the most mundane task, I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to have passion. I want to have passion for that thing. So I want to have passion in everything I do. Positivity is the next thing. And so regardless of how things look, what I realize is regardless of my circumstances, positivity is a choice. And so I want to be passionate about what I do. And I want to always be positive about the circumstances that I'm in, because I get to choose that. And then the last thing is persistence. That grind got to be right. I just read it today. Thomas Edison said, genius is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. And so consistently working as hard as I can. I'm not always the most talented dude there, the smartest dude there, but I'm always the most hardest working dude there. I'm the first one there. I'm the last one to leave, and I'm gonna always put the work in. So, so what success looks like to me and the teams that I create, I want folks who are hardworking and persistent. I want them to be positive, and I want them to be passionate, and that team is always gonna win. And so anyway, that's what it looks like to me. That's what I think. So that's it.
That's excellent, Tony. That's an excellent answer. As I sat here listening to you, it came to my mind as I talked about the Edison quote. A quote hit my mind. William Blake, he's a poet from the 18th century. He said, "Execution is the chariot of genius." And so, what that means to me is excellence is about backing up what you say, being about your word. And talk is cheap. My father, bless his heart, Bishop Alvis Bond up in Muncie, Indiana, he always said this: talk is cheap, but it takes money to buy land. And so excellence to me is about being about your business, persistence, working hard, and being able to back up what you say with what you do, because we have enough talking going on in this world. Well, what are you going to do? And to me, as Black men, execution is what we do. Now, that is to say, we all have a genesis, or Brandon, you know what I'm saying? We all have a beginning, right? B Money, you know what I'm saying? The book of Genesis is about the beginning. And so we all have a beginning. And that beginning for me starts with people who believed in me. So excellence from teachers in elementary school, to teachers in middle school, to teachers in high school, who told me that I had potential, and I believed in that. And so as you walk in that potential, you end up going to college. You end up, executing in your life because of people who set your stage for the beginning. I've got a grandson now, Brandon's son, Brendan. I have a granddaughter, Paxton, who's 8 years old. And so I want them to see me as somebody who executes, who had a beginning. I'm constantly in their ear telling them, man, you can do whatever you want. Don't let race be a factor. I've always told my sons, they can deny you because you're Black. They can deny you because you don't have the requisite degree. They can deny you because you don't have enough experience. But if you put all that behind you and then you get the education, they can't deny you anymore. So anything that they do is illegal. And so the one thing I've learned is to educate yourself, be about your business, execute, and you set yourself apart in excellence by executing. I'm telling you, not enough people execute. Remember that.
Most definitely. Mr. Williams?
Hey, before Mr. Williams start, I feel like we need the air horn or something, man. Like they dropping nuggets.
I'm definitely gonna add the air horn and some bomb drops in there while in post production. I got you, T.
Are you guys ready?
Sir.
All right. Excellence. As the other gentleman said, first of all, I applaud you guys because you made some excellent points. It's not just about Black excellence. It's about excellent. Being able to, when you look in the mirror and look at yourself, to be able to say, I'm happy with myself. I'm proud of who I am because I've given 110%. I've given everything that I have. So no matter whatever happens, I know that God is blessing me and I've done the best that I can. Now, with that said, I'll give a little bit of a background. One of the things that pushed me so much in life for success was I'm basically one generation away from sharecroppers. My father passed in 2008, and he was 80 years old. My mom, thank God, she's still with us. She's 90 years old. We just celebrated her 90th birthday. She was a sharecropper. They came up from North Carolina and grew up in Virginia, and they worked in fields, basically just a step away from almost being slaves, because they had to go and work and had to go out, and they didn't get money. They had books, that they just had to work. And then they went to the store and they were able to just be able to get whatever they could based on them working. Then my father, his father was actually killed because of supposedly being dealing with a white lady, those type of things. He never had the opportunity to go to school. He couldn't read nor write. My mom went to the 6th grade. They got married when they were 19 and 16. They had hard times, but the thing that they always taught me was to trust God and live a godly life, work hard. And the thing my father always said, get a good education.
Yes, sir.
So those are the type of things that drove me. With the house that I grew up in was a little 4-room house, not 4 bedrooms, but 4 rooms. You walked into the front room, you had the kitchen, 2 bedrooms, no running water. So those are things that I was embarrassed of when I was coming up, and I always said, I want to do better. So those are the things that kind of drove me in life. As I progressed, as I said, I started mowing lawns, cutting wood when I was 11 years old, worked a couple of jobs when I was in high school, went on to college for a couple of years, and then I joined the Air Force because I didn't have the money to stay in college. One of the big things for me with success is we have a tattoo for me and my son, just called the Williams Dynasty. And that drives us because it comes from, that's why I gave you all that history earlier about my father and my mother and the fact they did not get an opportunity to get that education, because I say that every generation is supposed to do better than the next. And I instill that in my sons and in my grandchildren. Whenever I talk to my 7 grandchildren right now, and thank God we've been truly blessed to have a nice home, not really have to want for anything. So when they come into my home and they look at it like, wow, I'm like, you know what? This is nothing, because it's all about, I'm expecting your fathers to do better than me, and I'm expecting you guys to do better than them. So that's a part of that legacy that you just talked about, leaving that legacy to make everyone around us, to make them better. So that's what it's all about as far as excellence. It's not just about Black excellence, but just excellent and being the best that you can be.
Most definitely. I think piggybacking on what all 3 gentlemen said, I think that's why us 5, you know what I'm saying, have gravitated towards one another, and we continue to push one another the way that we do, with whether it be within our workplace or within our families and things of that nature. Working out, Julius and Maurice got me back working out, and I never said I was done with it. T, I'm trying to tell you, after running track, I was done. It was staying. But we continue to push each other. I think that's a part of being excellent too. Having a group of people around you that continue to push you to be better and better every day. It's one thing, seeing my dad do it every day, and aspiring to be like him and maybe one day supersede.
That's it.
Better. And not being afraid to say that, I see what my dad has and I want to do better than that. And that bar is high. I know how high that bar is. So keep continuing to push and push the envelope forward. That's what it's all about.
Hey, Shed, before you move on to the next one, I want to foot stomp what you just said, because I know we talked about in the Black Excellence pod, is that community. I know one of the questions was breaking the stereotype. So you heard a lot of these gentlemen say that they're trying to push the next generations. And as you hear right now, Tori bringing our brother Tony on, saying, hey, this is someone that I was able to get good information from. So it can come from anywhere. So I don't want to say there's no excuse for people out there, but you got to latch on, be humble to whoever it is. Tori, I mean, we've been cool because he's been one of the most humble brothers I know. He wants the feedback. So, I mean, I challenge everybody out there, and the same thing for me. You can learn from anybody. You can learn from the bum on the street. He has some wisdom that he can impart on you, even if it's only like 5% good. So just continue to break those stereotypes and latch on to the people you can. And the people that have that wisdom to pass on, make sure you continue to pass it on to all people of color, all people, all God's children. It doesn't matter if they're black, white, yellow, or brown, but definitely bring up our own community as much as you can.
Yeah, that, I'm glad you said that, and the Bible often talks about, iron sharpens iron. And so these, you brothers have definitely sharpened me. Tony has sharpened me. Not growing, I was one of those kids that didn't grow up with a father. We have a good relationship, but he never lived with me. So that legacy piece was never instilled in me. But I will say that where I got the legacy piece from was from the Lord. The Lord talks about a good man leaves inheritance to his children, to his kids' kids. And, if you just look at Father Abraham, if you look at the word of God, it goes down. And those spiritual nuggets, if you apply them to your life, no matter if you have a father or not, they can definitely steer you in the right direction, because that is what we should be living by.
Yeah, I also want to kind of piggyback on that too. I mean, we're talking about legacy, and I think a lot of times when we think about, making sure that our kids do better than us and all of that stuff, a lot of times you can look at that from a material point of view, but it's things that are way more valuable than that. The character that you instill in folks, the sense of integrity that they have, the value that they place in people, the love that they show, their kids and their wives. And the significant people in their life, all that stuff is currency. And I think that a lot of times we focus on the material things, and that material stuff will come if you got all this other stuff right. And so, I think that this group has it, but a lot of times people focus on what they can put their hands on, and that's not the most important stuff. That's not the most valuable stuff. And so we got to make sure that we highlight those key characters traits, the key things that actually make you a man, make you excellent, because it's not the stuff you pay for. So that's all I got.
And I know I see B Money over there shaking his head. I see him. I know, and we done brought up the Bible 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And so I know he got something.
Hey, honestly, everything's been said, to be honest. And I don't want to say everything, but a lot's been said. T reference, iron sharpens irons. That's a motto in my family. Just one quick thing is, we talk once we get off these podcasts, and like I said, we're always in constant communication. And one thing that T brought back to the group that he actually said, Brother Tony had brought up, was about how are you comparing your excellence? Is your excellence just truly a standard of like what excellent is, or is it just kind of like if everybody is around you as an F and you a C, does that really make you excellent? And so Pastor Bond, I listen to his sermons. Of course, my dad's my number one mentor right behind God. So just even in this short period of time that I haven't even had the opportunity to meet Brother Tony, but I've heard things, and as you can see, honestly, I'm one of those people, once I get a nugget, I use it. And I think everybody I talk to now, I'd be like, well, are you really excellent? Or are you just excellent because of who you're around? So like you say, and Pastor Bond, things he said that has, God in my life. And again, as my dad, things he said. So I'm stop right there, because honestly, I know people are going to hear this, but I'm enjoying the wisdom. And as y'all know, in the previous episodes, I've mentioned the Bible. Now y'all see my foundation and y'all see why I mention it, because it really guides you to not only, push, but stay humble as you're pushing. And as all the success comes, man, it's only a blessing from God. So y'all see me nodding my head, because long-winded Brandon can't say nothing. It's already been said. It's a blessing. So I'm gonna stop right there.
Hey, can I tell y'all something? This is what success looks like for us younger folks, right? these fathers that's here. When I hear Tori or I hear my son talk, when I hear these conversations, because from the father's point of view, you saying all this stuff. Look, you're a broken record. You're giving them these life lessons, this, that, and the other, and you don't feel like they're listening, but like to hear it internalized, and not only to hear it internalized, you guys internalize it, but now you giving it. You got something in your cup and you pouring it out on the world. To me, that's success. I mean, it makes my heart feel good. And I know these other younger gentlemen that's on here with me. You guys, this is what success looks like to us. So thank you very much.
Moses, I know I thought you were saying something. Did I cut you off, brother? He might have some internet difficulties because he drive. Yes. So we'll move on to the next question here. And I believe this one came from Brother Julius here. What is your message to young men or young Black men about where we need to step it up within the community, in contrast to what we are doing, or what we should continue to do? Ju, you want to expound on that question?
Yeah, I will. And I know most of the brothers here have already hit on it a little bit, but a lot of times we'll say what other folks are doing to us that is keeping us down, or how America or the man are keeping us down. But it's a lot of things where we need to gut check ourselves in the community, starting with ourselves, then within our families, and then within the community, and then expounded upon that. But that's pretty much where I was getting at. With some of the wisdom that these gentlemen can pass down to the next generations and likewise generations. It doesn't matter how old you are. This is all fruits that's getting passed. So that's pretty much where I was going with that one.
Okay. I would just like to say, we just have to lead. Again, it starts with the education piece of it. As Tony said, show love for people, have compassion for people, just be a good person. When I look at people who make a big difference in the world, again, it's not about finances, but what can you give to just show love to others? That's a big thing. With us as Black men, we have to make sure that when we go out, that we set examples for people where we're not just that stereotype for the young men, not walking around with your pants sagging, those type of things like that. As soon as they see that young Black man that comes around with his pants sagging, that's something that's going to turn people off right away and see that's just another, whatever word they want to use. So I say we really have to make sure that we start with that part. Then as we go through life and we get into positions of authority, we have to make sure that we're actually helping bring others up. I've been in the military and being a chief master sergeant. I was blessed to be able to help a lot of people. I've been retired now for 10 years, and I still have a lot of people who contact me, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn, just to keep in touch. One of my young men, and hopefully he'll see this, Dion Taylor, I met him years ago back at Scott Air Force Base. He's doing great in the Air Force right now. And it's like he contacts me and he says, hey, Chief, I just want to share my success with you because of you, this is where I am today. So it just comes down to just setting a good example and being a leader. And I may say some other things later on, but I'll let someone else speak for right now.
It's funny that you mentioned Dion. Me, Julius, B Money, we all were at McKendree and we met Dion. How long ago was that?
2006.
Yeah,
when we were online.
Yeah,
we met that good brother.
Yeah, and so we've been able to keep in touch with him since for forever. And I know he's been out in Hawaii and Korea for a little bit. And it's good to hear that he's doing great things. So that's awesome. Anybody else want to expound on that question?
I'll jump in here and just say, from my perspective of, and I hate to go back. I'm sorry to go back to the Bible, but that's my life. And so I hear two scriptures that come to mind. One says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them from them all. And so what that means to me is that we're right and we're going to be afflicted, but we have to understand that we can come out of any situation because Romans 8:28 says that it all works together for our good. And so there's emotion in what it is that we're going through, what it is that we're doing. And what that tells me is that it's not always going to be good motion. It's not always going to be good things that happen, but it's all working. It's the pot, the stirring pot. And so what I would pass on to the next generation is don't get so caught up in the failure, to my sons, to you all. Failure is going to happen. But failure, when I look at Chief Williams, I know that less than 3% of enlisted become Chief Master Sergeants in the Air Force. And I know even less than that are Black Chief Master Sergeants in the Air Force. I look at Tony up here, 06 in the Navy. I know, without knowing the numbers, less than 3% become 06. Less than that, Black men that become 06s or earn the rank of 06. So that being said, that didn't stop these brothers. It didn't stop them. The failures, the negative comments that they've heard over the years. You just got to keep pushing through it because many are the afflictions of right. But it all is working together for our good. And so when you get the Chief Master Sergeant, when you get to Colonel in the Navy equivalent, then you can reach back and help somebody else and say, this is what happened to me. And that's what community is all about. That's what community is. You five, y'all linking up, friends. That's what community is. You're establishing your own community. I've heard about you buying the tickets and trying to create wealth. That's what community is. That's what you pass on to the next generation for your children, for Brendan and for all of y'all's children. Community is about understanding that it's all about the negative, it's all about the positive, and how it all balances out and we can still make it. So that's my encouragement to the next generation, to me too. I say it every day. You can still make it. I still have challenges, but we can overcome them, period. Hard stop.
You all mentioned like the impact. Maybe a few minutes before we got on the pod, I received a text message from a lady, and she was like, "Hey, I just want to know, can I have your permission to use your picture and some other stuff? I want to put you on my website because I inspired her, and she's a white lady. We're just real nice. We try not to see color. I inspired her to start a business because she wanted to work for my company. I said, no. Hey, look, you start, I'll help you. I'll teach you how to start your own business. And then you provide the service for my business. And I say that to say that the impact, we think about legacy long-term, but we also have to think about present. Every time you encounter someone, you have to be intentional about your impact. You have to be intentional about how they see you, how, not to say to care about how people look at you, but to a certain point, you have to. What image am I portraying? How am I impacting this person's life? So just that simple impact will impact her family, her kids, their kids. I mean, she has a husband. He flies helicopters and everything. But this right here, that one thing, her starting a company that helps other companies, is tremendous, and it's all from one person making impact.
Hey, T. Hey, it wasn't your screensaver with the Calvin Kleins on, right? And your shirt off on the beach. It wasn't that one, right?
No, not that one.
All right, just making sure, bro.
Hey, for me, I've been thinking about this question for a long time. This is a just like all these questions, this is an outstanding question. And so what I want to preface what I'm going to say with this is not stuff that you got to fix. This is stuff we got to fix. Any challenges that you guys have, those are some of that is our fault because because we are the example that you guys follow, right? And so it's stuff that we also have to fix. Okay, so this is what I came up with. The degree that you let your struggle define your Blackness is the level at which your Blackness will be limited, right? And so what I mean by that is a lot of times, I'm from the hood in Chicago. And so a lot of times if I don't or somebody doesn't identify with the struggle of what it is to be Black, then somehow they less Black than me. And so, but then that limits our Blackness. So that means that in order to be Black, I got to talk a certain way. I got to wear certain things. I got to listen to certain things. I can't be who I am. But the real matter is, regardless of what I do as a Black man, that's defining what Blackness is. And so I think not only you guys, but me, this is something that we need to work on. We need to make sure that we got to acknowledge the struggle. We got to acknowledge where we came from, because it's what shapes us, but it's more to the story, right? And we got to make sure that we are allowing all of that stuff to define it. I was trying to articulate it to my wife, and the best example I could give was like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? Will was the Black dude. Carlton, the way they played him on the show, he wasn't, but he was. Carlton, when he got pulled over by the cops, he had the same issues as Will, right? But to me, that's a clear example. Both of those were Black men. They just came from different circumstances, and their level of struggle was different, but they both still Black. And so we got to make sure that we don't allow our struggle to limit our Blackness, because as a Black man, I should be able to listen to country music. I should be able to, I can be articulate without saying somebody saying I'm talking like I'm white. Excellence is excellence. And so anyway, I want us to work on that as Black men, trying to be excellent, removing those limitations that are associated with the struggle of Blackness. Okay, so that's what I think we need to fix. What I think you guys are doing right is this right here. You creating opportunities, you creating forums to discuss this stuff. Like, just like Tori said, I didn't have a blueprint, right? I didn't have a dad around to show me. I knew what not to do, but I didn't know what to do. So when I started having kids, I was terrified, because I didn't want to get this thing wrong. It's too much riding on it, but I didn't know. And so things like this, the conversations that you guys are having are creating a blueprint for folks like me who don't have that. So they can look at you and they can say, okay, now I know what right looks like. Man, these men are telling me what excellence is, because you guys know it, having dads. I grew up with my mom, and she couldn't tell, a woman can't tell a boy how to be a man. Only a man can do that. And so when you don't have that, you gravitate to the wrong things. It's a risk that you won't gravitate to excellence. And so continue to have these things and defining what excellence looks like, and giving people access to excellence. So when they see a major in the Air Force, when they see business owners, when they see you Black men from all these different walks of life coming together and agreeing on what excellence looks like, you need to keep doing that. So anyway, that's my comment.
Can I tag into that, Brandon? You just reminded me of something. I was in Atlanta over a couple weekends ago, maybe last weekend, and we were all sitting around just chatting, some of my relatives, friends, and we were chatting, and one of the guys was in the Air Force previously, and he was talking about his struggle in the Air Force and how his struggle was related to his Blackness. And so I jumped in and I said, I never really had that issue. We're going to probably talk about that, but I never really had that issue. And so he retorted back. He says, yeah, but you're not threatening. You don't have that look. And so I said, you just met me. How do you know who I am? And so we oftentimes will put each other in a bucket, and we don't know anything about one another. So I would pass on just to say, be careful, because when you stereotype, we do it to each other. And then we wonder why there's so much struggle among us as Black men, because we look at each other and say, oh, but you wouldn't have any problems because you have that look. What is that supposed to mean? And that's what I asked him. I said, well, what does that mean? We just met. Can you expound on that? And he started stuttering. And so just be careful with those kinds of blanket statements, because he knew nothing about me. I knew nothing about him. We were just talking. And so as we say those things, as you said, Tony, it sets limitations, and we don't want to set limitations on who we are.
Sorry, can I say something real quick? So, again, even piggybacking on that, I've always grown up, and my dad, he pushes us. He says, if there's anything, he's like, no, I'll get better at it. And I've heard that for majority of my life. They say, oh, you talk white. And I said, what's white mean? What does that mean? I talk white. There's like, you talk proper. And I was just like, what? There's like, you talk like English. And I'd be thinking in my head, I'd be like, wait, I grew up in America. My first language and only language that I really know is English. So when I speak it that way, I do not get more by sounding ignorant. And I want to quote this because I first heard it on Coach Carter, but it was one that I looked at. It's Our Deepest Fear by Simeon Williams. It says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frighten us. We ask ourselves, who am I? I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talent, fabulous. And there's more. I would, challenge everybody to go and read the rest of the poem. But at the end, it says, and as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we liberate from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. To say that is, as Black men, I think there's a thing that we know we are great. We've always been challenged to be great. Whenever we do things, it's always shown to be greatness. The hard part about it is, and I know my dad and my brother can attest, all the men on this call can attest, is that when you're great, sometimes you want to turn it off just to get a break. But there's no time to turn it off. There's times I lay down in my bed and I want to go to sleep because I haven't had any rest. And my son comes in and he says, Daddy, and he's happy. And at that moment, I want to tell him, just go away. But I know at that point in time, I have an opportunity to instill something in him, to establish time, to let him know, hey, Daddy's here. I love you. What is it that you want to do? Excellent. And I get up, and inside of me, I'm frustrated because I'm tired. But at the end of the day, when I see my son walk off, or I see him come back and do something, or when he's in front of people and he shows that thing that I did at that time, that's why I see that, like, I get that excitement and that energy to keep pushing. We are at times as Black men afraid to be great because we don't feel like we will be able to turn it off. But it might not be meant for you to turn it off. And I say it like this, is that, of course, I know we reference, I'm glad, I'm not the only man just referencing the Bible now, on the podcast. I'm glad I got some other brothers on here. But with that being said, is Jesus showed his light all the time. He didn't have an opportunity to shed out. And the light that I like to let shine through me is the light of God, the light of Christ. So with that being said, you might not have that. You probably won't get the opportunity. But if we as a community, we as Black men, all are showing this positive light, liberating each other to keep showing these type of lights that we all can move forward, it gives other Black men an opportunity to take a break and to keep fighting, keep moving. And that's the part that I, want for everybody. Just be like, don't be afraid of that light. Let it show, because it's when everybody is showing it, then we're the whole body. As Christ is guys, and Christ is the head, we are the whole body. And it's so much easier when your whole body is moving. And, you can't be doing bench press with one, which is just your right arm. You need that left arm too. And if both are active, going active at it, then it's just more powerful. And that's what we need.
Just to piggyback off of what you said, B, I think that not necessarily turning it off, but other people are threatened by other people's greatness. Whereas I see B Money or Julius or T or Moses, if he hops back on, doing great things, that pushes me to also want to do great. I'm not threatened by their greatness. There's a such thing, my dad says it, and then I'm sure it's a Navy, high tide raises all ships. Mm-hmm. So having a group of friends or having a group of people around you that are constantly pushing and doing better and better and better, if that doesn't make you want to be, you shouldn't feel threatened by that. That should make you want to be better. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I gotta let Moses back in. Hold on 1 second. Y'all can go ahead.
No, I was just going to say. Oh, go ahead, Moses.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, sir.
No, I was just going to say for you guys, part of the question was, what can you do to continue the excellence? It's already been said, but I just want to reemphasize it. Just continue these forums and taking it even higher. You're starting right now, but who knows where you may take this to? This could be a nationally syndicated show one day. Who knows? You know, one thing I really want to push, because I know you guys have a following and people are listening to this. You guys, I know you're not out there hating on other brothers and those type of things. But one thing I want anybody else who's listening to this is to push that we have to support each other no matter what. When I walk past people, and I speak to anybody, whether it's black, white, or whomever it is, but when I walk past a brother and they have the nerve to look at me and look at me up and down like they don't want to speak, those type of things, that bothers me. We talk about systemic racism, but basically, if we don't learn to support ourselves and love our brothers, how can we expect anyone else to love us and respect us? So what I would just say, just keep pushing for us to just love each other and stop all the killing. That's one of the biggest things right now. Each time that there's some killings or something going on, the first thing we're talking about is racism, but we're doing so much of it to ourselves. So let's just learn to love each other and support each other.
You're right, sir. You know, I posted something that says Black lives won't matter until Black lives matter to Black people. And I got a lot of pushback, but the thing is, you know, everybody else can't be the problem. Everybody else can't be the issue. You know, we have to, it starts from within, and then you look at everything else. So, you know, I honestly, I agree. And just to say what, to speak to what B Money and B.Bond were saying, the reason we work together is because we want each other great, is because we want each other to be successful. You know, it's not about my success. It's not all about me. It's not all about just what I have going on. It's like, how can I help my brother be better? You know, Julius, man, that dude is a financial Nazi. He stays on me about, you know, the peanuts, the stuff that really matter. You know, we always look at the little stuff and say, oh, that doesn't matter, you know, but he will cut a penny in half if he could, you know, but it makes sense, you know, and it works. And that's where the wealth and the legacy piece comes in, is when you hold each other accountable and you look at the small things, because the small things turn into big things.
Oh, real quick, if you don't mind, I just wanted to also say this, and also, we got to continue to help each other as we do some of these things. Right now, I'm wearing one of the guys I go to the gym. His name is G at Colonial Heights, you know, Virginia gym, and this is his business, Africa Fit. And one of the things that, like, I bought a couple, you know, sweatshirts from him. He's like, oh, you know, I'll give you a discount. And I was like, if I was to go anywhere else, I wouldn't expect a discount. And it wasn't like major discount, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna pay full price because we're trying to support, you know, as everybody just kind of quickly echoed, is that sometimes we want discounts from some of our people that we wouldn't expect if we walked into the Gucci's and these other stores. You're not looking for the discount. You just more so like, oh, I got this on. So why can't we be excited to support, you know, like our brothers and, you know, other businesses out here and Black-owned businesses that are doing things?
Right. I just want to say something quick before my internet go out. I didn't catch everything, but I heard Mr. Williams when he was talking about, like, the, you know, walking past a Black brother and, you know, we don't speak and we don't show the love. And I really think a big part of that, especially coming from a less fortunate background, I think it's the mental health. And if we don't if we don't purposely watch how we inject stuff into our mind, we will be subjected to the negative connotations, and we'll be subjected to seeing our own kind and think it's a competition instead of it's my brother and let me help my brother, let me pick up my brother, or let me do something for them. And I think it's because of that. I think also in our community, I think I'm not, maybe not speaking for everybody, but it's kind of looked on in a bad way, especially if you come from a single upbringing. It's like, oh, looking at a counselor, telling them your family thoughts, because like how I was raised, what happens in your family stays in your family. So if you put y'all family stuff out there, then that could be an issue. If you just don't talk to the pastor, then okay, that's it. Let God handle it. But we have to really watch how we train our mind. And it took a lot for me to just train my mind different into thinking outside of the box. Like Tony was saying, it's like, you go into a place and because that person talked this way, it's like, oh, you're less black. And I used to be one of those people because I'll come from the hood and I'm thinking, yo, I'm talking with slang, cursing and all of this, talking with my hands, just being theatrical. And that's not it. And I've just learned now, like, and y'all, and I mean, my brothers, they know me. I'm a theatrical person, but at the same time, I'm educated too. I'm a businessman too, and I'm a chameleon. So I know how to switch it up. But a lot of people in our community, they don't. And because of that, I think that's also in addition to help perpetuate that cycle of why we lose as a culture and not showing the true excellence. And y'all right, man. And it was something that y'all was saying, like y'all guys who was born in the 60s and the 70s, y'all was born with a different grit. Tony, you said something earlier, you was like, what drove you when you was younger was succeeding. It wasn't about the fine things. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about, oh, let me get this. It wasn't about, I gotta do this to have other people look at me. It was about, you had purpose. You woke up with a purpose. And, that's something that we all should be doing, is waking up and thinking, hey, I need to have a purpose. I need to be consistent, and I need to show dedication. I need to show hard work in order to get to where you want. And once you get to where you want, you realize, like for me, I was just thinking it's money, 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 but it's not about money no more. It's just about how we saying excellence and making sure that our brothers are coming up in the same way that I'm coming up, like financially. And you can't bring everybody up, but the people who really want it and who really got that passion, who really got that eye for it, they the ones that you grab hold to, because everybody's not going to value what you bring. So that's all I got to say for my interview.
Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate it. And one thing you did say, you can't bring everybody with you. Sometimes it's okay to know when you got to cut somebody off and let them kind of figure it out, for themselves. So pushing, I'm gonna skip this the next little nugget that we had in here, and I want to go straight into the military talk, because we've already kind of crossed that bridge into it. And so we have some elder statesmen that were in the military, as you can see, and racism within the military. So B Money, you want to take it over from here?
Most of, I appreciate it. So I know everybody has different experiences. So my recent experience, I recently separated from the Air Force here. Was about almost a year ago now. Since then, truly been blessed. But in that time, came in, of course, as he's here. My dad, he's chief. My brother's a major, great mentors to me when I came in, and kind of laid the path of letting me know, hey, hit this, do this, be mindful of that. So God bless me to be able to come in and just go on, as they call it, the fast burner track. So came right in, honor grad. As soon as I got out, hit senior airman below the zone, was getting awards and all those different things. There was something that just happened, turn of events in my squadron. And for me personally, as we always talk about excellence, my thing is just go in and do your job. So, I went in and did my job, but because I was excelling over others, and another incident that happened where I had watermelon and grape soda placed on my desk, and there were some things that I didn't try to blow everything up. I just wanted everybody to know my squadron wasn't okay. My commander turned, and it just went down a path that was for like a year and a half. That was probably, honestly, the worst year and a half of my life. And if it wasn't for people who put their arms around me, and times I felt like I really wanted to give up, and I had my pops stand in my corner, just fighting for me till God said it was time for me to get out the military. But I experienced that in the military, and it was rough because at that point in time, we talk about war. And that's really what you do when you're in the job. Everything you do is to defend our country. And in defending our country, you think the man next to you is, regardless of race, where everybody say, I don't see color. That's the one place that you will really think you don't see color, because it's more so just about life and surviving. But I went through that and I experienced that, and just being in the military was different for me. So I say all that. My dad, I'll let him speak on some things. I'm pretty sure there will be other, experiences, and not always, negative. Might be. I think there will be both sides, because I've experienced both sides with, my white counterparts and leadership was very supportive. So it's not just about race, but having to go through that situation and being where I was at, feeling less than a man at times. That was hard for me. And I will say, as we speak on this excellence and, growing the perseverance and the tools and the resiliency of tools that was instilled in me is what helped me get through that. So it's different. I say that's just kind of my experience and stuff like that. But how I overcame it, like I said, was because I had, as my dad would say, I had angels, in my corner who was surrounding me that I didn't even know to help me get through that type of stuff. But going from there, I'll just say this part, then I'll turn it over to the younger gentlemen to, maybe give their experience and maybe what they have on it. I will just say, if you are in the military, one thing that I know everybody's not, going to have that opportunity to make it out on the other side the way that, God bless me. I had a lieutenant who she's actually Nikki Robertson. She actually, stepped in on my behalf to, making it publicized and actually putting it on, social media, YouTube, about the things that my commander did to her as, a Black and Hispanic woman, lieutenant in the Air Force. And she went through a lot. For me personally, also, I made the decision to get out on the day that right around the time that George Floyd got killed and was murdered. And on top of that, there was an article that came out about the statistics of how Black people's punishment was greater than their counterparts. And just like I say, God aligned it. That's who I give all credit to. But the people that he used, watching, like say my dad, him being the Black chief, and he, like say, he's been out for a while, but he reached back and he still made some good connections. That's what we talk about, community. So the community that he had built, they all, they called people, and there was things I didn't even know. Like I said, I was going to work every day struggling, but at the end of the day, there was things that was going on behind the scenes that I didn't know, that when I got out of it, I was just like, thank God for community and stuff like that. So, but in that time, I would just encourage, if you're in the military, you may be experiencing some things, make sure you connect with as many different people as you are. Get involved, as we talked already about not being oh, well, you know, they ain't trying to do this for the Black people, man. Get involved in those different organizations. I work with a lot of different organizations. That also helped me. So many people was able to come out and speak on my behalf, which would allow me to get out the military without it being a dishonorable discharge or anything, allow me to put on my stripe, which my commander was trying to hold from me, even though I made staff without even needing the extra points that I got. So I'm gonna stop right there. I thank you, B, for allowing me to share that unfortunate experience, but also just to say that the tools to get past it is make sure you are networking and knowing who, you know, those people who's truly in your corner. As my dad spoke about earlier, Deion Taylor, I reached out to him, and God knows the blessing that he was to me. So again, I'll stop right there and let the other gentleman speak.
Yeah, before you say anything, before anybody really get going, we kind of touched on a little bit. I know Mr. Bond said execute. So you executing helped you to get to the point where you are right now, and God, you know, giving all glory to God for you to be able to overcome your circumstances. But also Moses mentioned the mental health piece. So being able to get on a forum like this and speak to where, you know, a couple of hundred people or more are going to see this and talk about your struggles and what you dealt with, but how you overcome, that's something that's important in our community, as Moses hit on as well, to get out there. And for people to continue when you hear someone giving out a rally cry, to wrap your arms around them and do what you can to help them get past that moment.
I'm sorry, and I do want to say is I did one thing that I will say, and the reason I said the Black excellence, and I said it at the end of our fatherhood with my dad, there was times that it was 12 o'clock in the morning, and he, at that time, I was Central Standard Time and he was Eastern Standard Time. So my 12 was his 1, and things I had to write because I was getting paperwork for no reason. And my dad was up, we're going to fight this. And he wasn't just telling me, and there was things he would tell me. He'd be like, hey, Brandon, you got to get better at writing. You got to write this a little bit better. But it wasn't that he was just telling me that. He was actually proofreading it and getting on the phone with me 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and just like, hey, I'm going to be there right there with you, son. And it's not just about telling Black people or telling your brother that like, hey, man, well, you just got to do better. You failing. But it's about getting in that fight with him. And like I say, that's why I look up to him. I say he's my number one mentor, because every single thing I've done in my life, military, outside of military, he gonna hold me accountable. As T said earlier, that's what he says, our motto, iron sharpens iron. But on top of that, he's also gonna be like, because I'm gonna be in the fight with you, as well as I know I can probably, you know, speak to him. We've had limited interaction, but I can probably already tell just from T speaking on Brother Tony. And I know Pastor Bond, I went out there to celebrate my brother V 30th birthday. Pastor Bond was ready to put me up there to preach. And I was just like, oh man, you know, so it's like, it's not just about like, just tells me, but it's like, hey, I'm gonna give you this opportunity. I'm gonna give you this platform. And I'm like, oh, no, man, Pastor Bond, you know, but that opportunity that these men have given us opportunities to even try to go to be great, to own our the craft that God and the light that God has put in us. So I'll stop there. I'm sorry, because I get happy and start testifying in here even more.
So
hold on. I just want to say real quick, man. You know, Mr. Williams and Mr. Bonds, you know what I'm saying? It's you fathers out there that I look up to, that I didn't have nobody to look up to, that inspires me to continue to want to be a great father, that inspires me to continue want to keep pouring nothing but great blessings into my children, to whereas when my children get old, like as the Bible said, you teach a child, they won't depart from the ways. I don't know where in the Bible it say that, but obviously y'all have done it, and look what it brought y'all children to come out to be. And I mean, man, I'm almost emotional over here in this semi, because it's y'all testimonies that just, it gives guys like me hope that I can still be a great father. You know what I mean? Whether I have that role model or not, but because I got my brothers and y'all are their dads, I get to hear y'all conversations and see how y'all continue to pour into y'all children, even as we're grown. Like B Money just said, he continued to call his dad 1 o'clock in the morning as if he was a child, because he knew his dad was gonna have his back. And it's that kind of energy and it's that kind of love, man. I mean, like for me, it touches me on so many levels, man, that I like. All I can do is just say thank y'all, man, because y'all, you never know who's listening and who's learning from just your testimony, because that's what this is, man. And I appreciate y'all, man, for real.
So with that
Hey,
being
Mo.
said, go ahead, Mr. Williams.
Hey, Mo, just stay strong, bro. I would just say, Mo, just stay strong. Hey, I applaud you. You out there working hard, and I can just hear the emotion in your voice. So just continue doing what you're doing, and you are a great father, and you're establishing that legacy, and your children are going to be great. So leave it at that. Keep doing a great job.
So with that being said, looking at the story that B Money had to go through within the military, what would some advice be from you all? Not even just in the military, experiencing racism and things of that nature on the workplace. How do you make it through? Because we've experienced it.
Can I comment on that one? Hey, first, Brandon, because I don't know if I qualify to call you B Money yet, because I remember in the podcast if I know you like that.
We all in it. I'm B
All
Money.
right, I can call you B Money. Okay, good. All right. So I really appreciate you sharing that story. And one of the things that's important is a lot of times when you're going through that stuff, you feel like you're the only person that's going through it. But I got stories like that too, where you look up and you feel like you're working twice as hard just to be average, right? And I feel like that's not only our story, that's the story of any Black man in the military that's trying to be excellent. I guarantee that, that Julius probably has the same story. Your dad probably has the same story. Any Black man that's in the military that's trying to excel. And so, for me, I want to kind of share a story, and then I want to give you my thoughts on how, some tips. And so, in my first command, I was working hard to get qualified. But the CO that I had, he just, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he was just a very good man. He wasn't very good at his job, having now done his job. And so, it was things that I was getting asked on qualification boards and things like that when I would go and talk to my white counterpart about, hey, what was the answer to, the characteristics of this missile path and all of this stuff. They were like, well, hey, why is he asking you that? That's not what he should be asking. Well, that's what he asked me, And so it got so bad. I don't know what it is in the Air Force, but we have the Command Managed Equal Opportunity Program, the CMEO program in the Navy. And when the leader of that program came to me and said, hey, when are you going to put your grievance in on the captain? And so, so it was that, and so I not only have I experienced what you experienced, but like I said, I think it's common. So here's what I would like to offer to you and to anybody who's going through this in the military or out of the military. It's two ways you could look at it. One of the ways you could look at it is like, why is this happening to me? Right? That's one way. But the other way you could look at it, and the way that I would challenge us all to look at it when you get in situations like this, is why not me? Right? Why shouldn't this? I'm uniquely positioned for this to happen to me, right? And so that's the way I want you to look at it. So look at it from the point of view of the reason why I'm in this situation is this. The fact that I'm in this situation is not a surprise to God. It might be a surprise to me, but it's not a surprise to God. So if it's not a surprise to God, then that means that it's something for him. It's something that he's giving me. It's some weight that he's putting on the bar. He's trying to grow some muscles in me that I need, not only for myself, but actually so I can love somebody else with it, right? A wise man once told me, apple trees don't eat apples. That's what he said. Meaning that the fruit that you bear in your life, it's not for you. It's always for somebody else. And just at the right time, that fruit is going to be ripe so you could give it to somebody else. And if you don't, it just falls to the ground and it spoils because apple trees can't eat apples. So all the stuff you going through in your life, all these challenges that you're going through, God always gives you what you need for the next challenge. So having a positive outlook on it, God knows that it's going to happen. He puts you in this situation. and he believes in you. He knows that you can handle it. You uniquely positioned. You have all of the things you need to be able to get through this situation. And you're not getting through the situation for you. You're getting through the situation for somebody else. So just at the right time, you can give them that right fruit, and you can love them with it. And that person can be, your shipmate that you serving with. It could be your kids. It could be your brother. It could be whoever it is. But when you go through those challenges, right, plants need rain to grow, right? And so regardless of, a lot of times we look at the good times and we feel blessed, but rain is a blessing. And so as you go through these situations, you got to look at it from the point of view, from that point of view. Why not me? Thank you, God, for allowing me, putting me in this situation. And I have the opportunity to grow these muscles that I need to love somebody else. And so that's what I would offer to you, to anybody who's thinking about this, because a lot of times I really don't think that God cares about the circumstances. What he cares about is what you're going to do in the circumstances. Are you going to take the opportunity to grow in your faith? Are you going to take the opportunity to trust him? Are you going to take the opportunity to make sure that you confirm that he knows what he's doing and he is still God? Or are you going to move him out of his chair and sit down because you think you got a better plan than him? And so that's my notion. My notion, and one of the things that kind of help my mental health, is that God is still in control. Regardless of what, you can look through examples all through the Bible. It's cruel people that did bad things to God's people. But regardless of that, he was still in control. And when I look back at my life, all those bad things that happened to me, whether it was in the military or outside the military, man, I wouldn't have it any other way. All those things shaped me. They gave me the fruit I needed so that we could have this conversation. So I could talk to my son who's graduating from Howard next year, and he's going to be a surface warfare officer. I can shape him. I can give him the stuff he needs so that he can be successful and he can identify those challenges and have the resiliency and the toughness to get through them. And so anyway, so that's what I would offer to you, to the group, to whoever's listening as tips. I mean, you should be asking yourself, why not me? Don't be you can be a victim or you can be a champion, and that's what God made us to be. So you should always be looking for the opportunity. What I realize is a universal truth from God is that on the other side of uncomfortableness is always growth. So if I want to grow, I got to be in an uncomfortable situation. And when I'm in an uncomfortable situation, the reason why I grow is because I can't depend on myself. I can only depend on God. Uncomfortable situations is where God lives. And so if I want to always be growing, I got to be looking around for where the uncomfortable situation is, and I got to go to it. And that's why it's super important that your dad instilled the things in you that he did, because in those uncomfortable situations, it's easy to lose your form. When you lift in weights and they light, you want to focus on your form, because when the weight get heavy, if you don't have the right form, you can hurt yourself. And all that stuff your dad gave you, all that fruit he gave to you to be able to handle all these situations with integrity, with honesty, with the right character. All of that stuff gave you the form that you needed to have in order to be able to go through the situation that you were going through. And so anyway, you're uniquely equipped. And so you should be looking forward to those uncomfortable situations. It's easy to say, but you should be looking forward to those uncomfortable situations, because those are the situations that's going to grow you and give you the fruit you need so you can love somebody else. So anyway, that's what I will offer. That's how I try to approach it. I'm not always successful, but I know that that's right, because that's who God is.
I just say real quick, first of all, amen. And then on top of that, it's funny you say the why not me, because one of the songs that my dad did send me was a Tasha Page Lockhart, which is called Why Not Me. And of course, we, Pastor Bond, I know we can speak to this one is, we think about Job, and everybody can preach all these sermons about this type of stuff. But then when God be like, hey, walk out on this water, and we talk about Peter, well, he took his eyes off of Christ. There was a lot of times I was in my house just praising God, screaming, just yelling, thanking God. So, I definitely a lot of those tools where there was things that we still was able to do, the organizations that God had me, over at that time, that when I got out and I was telling people, there was a lot of people like, man, we didn't know all that was going on. So behind the closed doors, there was that crying, but it was like, Jay Will Immortal spoke on, he said, that mental health and having those people and grabbing them and pulling them up. And that, like I say, just speak to, because behind closed door, it was hard, but it was testing my faith. And it did. Like every day I was getting up, I stayed in church, I stayed preaching, I stayed going to work, I stayed doing my responsibilities. So sometimes, even though it's hard, as you stated, and I forgot who said it earlier, but you don't know who's watching, and you have to get up and keep doing it. And at that point in time, as I stated earlier, I wanted to turn the greatness off, and I'm like, man, I'm going through something, but it was like I couldn't. But definitely appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I just want to jump in on that and say, I'm sorry that happened to you, B, because unfortunately, we all have a story to tell as it relates to our Blackness and how it impacted our military career. My own story, I'll share it, and then I'll let you know how I made it through. The first thing I would say is I lean into the word. Psalm 1 tells us we should be like a tree that is planted by the rivers of water that bringeth forth fruit, his fruit or her fruit in his or her season. That tells me that we oftentimes, I said this in our Bible study the other night, we oftentimes look at the tree as the strength, but really the strength is the water. As long as you're planted by the water, then it feeds the tree. And so everything that we have talked about is tree planted by the water. And so the water is nourishing the tree. That being said, my own story, I was in the Air Force, 18, 19 years old after a year of college. And my wife, high school sweethearts, went in the Air Force. My first job in the Air Force was an administrator, 702, they call them, enlisted back in the day, Security Forces Squadron. Didn't have any stripes on my arm. Nobody should have been hating on me or jealous of me because we didn't have anything. I had my son and my wife and could barely afford to pay rent. So I show up at this Security Forces Squadron, and there's a black major and a black chief. And I thought I was in because I said 2 black men are going to help me make it through the early stages of my career. I couldn't afford to get a haircut, so I was cutting my own hair, not a barber. So you could only imagine what my hair looked like. And so I walk into the job, and this black major, 04, comes up to me and says, "Oh, I see you cut your own haircut cut your own hair in front of everybody." Just kind of embarrassed me, you know. And so they would give me these hard things to do. These were black men that would put things on me that they knew I didn't even know how to do. And so this black chief one day sent me in the bathroom to clean the bathroom. I had never done anything wrong, but we had custodians for that. And I didn't know how to take that. So I went in the bathroom and cleaned the bathrooms in our squadron. And so I oftentimes wondered, I would come home to my wife. I tell her this stuff, what was going on. And you know who got me through that? I didn't know enough about God back then, even though I came up in the church. It was my black wife, my woman, my ride or die, who said, they just hating on you because they see your future. They're hating on you because they see your future. These are people that have already made it. They're hating on you because they see your future. So I would go to work with my chest stuck out because my ride or die told me, with your jacked up haircut, you all good because it's coming down the road. They hating on you because they see your future. And so she would say that to me all the time. One day I came to work, and this same squadron commander comes up to me. I worked at the pass and ID section. He came up to me. We had a lobby full of people. He said, "I saw you coming out of Po' Boys last night." Po' Boys was a restaurant down in Florida that, it didn't cost a whole lot of money to go eat there. And I had enough gall in me to say, and it was good food, and you ought to try it yourself. Here I am, an airman basic, talking back as I think about that to a major in that way. But that's what they did to me. And so I would bring that home to my wife, and she would say, "Oh man, don't worry about that," because they see your future. They're just trying to stop you now, because when you get to your great, they want to stop the great. And so I say to everybody, don't allow it. Like B Money just has indicated, we go through behind the scenes. We go through a lot of things. Lean into your community. In my case, it was my wife who held me up, and she's still here holding me up today. And so I just would encourage you all to lean into the people that can help you, your family, Chief Williams, Tony. I mean, these are folks that I've learned about today that can even help me still. And so just lean into your family, because people are afraid of great. They're afraid of great. And so B Money, you on your way, man. And so I would just encourage you again, apologize that happened, but it's not unusual. And I'm glad you made it through it.
You know, one thing is that people reject what they don't understand. I mean, we all are men of God, and when we look at Jesus, I mean, how do you walk around this earth and heal people, make the blind see and the lame walk? You know, you bring people back from the dead, and people still reject what they don't understand. They don't understand your work ethic. They don't understand why you do what you do, how you do what you do. My spiritual father, he told me, he said, be careful. As I started the Lord transition me from Homeland Security to owning my own companies. He said, be careful. He said, and you test people by the Spirit, because people will either, reject you, or they'll latch on to your future. As Mr. B.Bond said, they rejected his future. But there are people out here, if they can't beat you, they'll join you just to come up with you as well. So you got to watch out for that as well.
Pastor Bond, hey, I applaud you for just being a strong airman. When it came down to me, I never really dealt with racism personally myself in the Air Force. However, I did see it. And one of the reasons why I wanted to get promoted was because I saw people looking down on other people and not treating them the way they should. And I always said I wanted to get promoted as high as I could possibly get promoted in order to be able to help others. That was one of the things. Of course, the money was good to be promoted, but I always thought about I wanted to be in a position where I can help other people. And I can truly say that there were some situations where I saw being in some commands where I did have to step in and take care of some younger brothers, because I saw some things that was in the background and I just wasn't going to let that happen. And I thank God I was in that position to be able to do that. So with that being said, I think you guys have heard a couple of different stories, how you had a black major and a black chief who was trying to hold the brother down. But then on Brandon's side, even though I'd been retired for almost 10 years, I was able to reach back out. God allowed me to be able to reach back out to some other brothers who were retired, and they reached out to some other brothers who they knew who were still active duty, and they were able to engage to be able to help Brandon out. So I say that it all comes down to we have to help each other out. That's what we were talking about earlier. We hate on each other so much. We got to learn to support each other. And then we need to work on educating ourselves. And of course, we have to work extra hard, much harder than anybody else. But when we get to those positions, that allows us to be able to help. All of us are always going to have somebody who's going to be our supervisor, who's going to be over us and stuff like that. But it does at least put us in a position to be able to make a difference. And when you're put in those positions, then you have to accept that responsibility and make sure you're taking care of others. When it came down to Brandon, and as he said, we were up at 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes writing, because it hurt me so much, because I'd be like, I did so much to try to help other people. It wasn't just black people. I have white people, white airmen who still keep in contact with me. I'm going down to San Antonio next month for retirement for a young lady who made chief, and she's not black. But she said one of the things that made a difference in her life was when this chief called her into my office and sat her down and walked through all of her EPR, performance reports, and all those type of things to try to help her get promoted, those type of things. So when you can help people, help everybody. But if you're in a position, make sure that your black brothers and sisters are not struggling out there.
Hey,
And I said this last thing is this, that when Brandon was sitting there, and I'm thinking like, what can I do? I've tried to help people so much, and here it is, my own son. I feel helpless. I don't even know what to do. But of course, number one was God. We trusted in God. And as I told him, I said, always be excellent, because that helped a lot. Because when I was going out and I was fighting and I was contacting these people, I was able to say that this young man was someone who was an honor graduate out of basic training. He was the Airman of the Year in that squadron for 2 years, in that same squadron that he was getting dogged by this new commander. He was senior and below the zone. He did all these things. So that gave me that ammunition to be able to say that when they went to their superiors and all their contacts, they were able to say, how can someone who has had all these accomplishments all of a sudden become a scumbag within 6 months? And that made a huge difference. So God, number one, but we have to do our part as well. And then when we get in those positions, we have to make sure that we reach back and bring our brothers and sisters up.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on that as well. One of the things I realize is being excellent means that you're going to ascend, right? You're going to get to levels where you're going to look around and you're going to be the only person in the room that looks like you. And I can say honestly for myself, there's been times where I looked around and I didn't see anybody like me. And I asked myself, man, do I belong here? Because even though I worked hard to get there, I wasn't always treated like I belonged there. And I had these insecurities in myself. I can only speak for myself that was asking me, that caused me to ask those questions. And I just want to just let everybody here know that wherever you are, you belong there. If you find yourself in the room and you're the only person that looks like you, God put you in that room, right? You belong there because you're there. And so a lot of times that's where you can try to hide your greatness. That's a lot of times you can so other people can try to diminish your greatness, but that's where your greatness should shine the brightest, because you are uniquely positioned to be in that place, because you have the opportunity to make relationships, to challenge stereotypes and change people's perspective. And that's the reason why you're there. And so I just felt like I needed to say that, because I think I hope I'm not the only person who kind of struggles with that. If I am, that's great. But if not, wherever you are, you belong there, and make sure you step into it, embrace it, and become the champion for yourself.
You're not, because it's like even in my job now as a civilian, sometimes I'm sitting in the room, I'm the only African American in the room, but I strive to make sure that I carry myself and I'm always competent in my job, that I'm never, ever going to let them be able to say that, look at him, he can't do this because he's Black. So, and I thank God I've been blessed to be successful in my career, both military and in the civilian. So always just step into your greatness. When you're there, act like you've been there before. I heard this in football. It's like you get in the end zone, you have to do the dance in the end zone, because when you get in the end zone, hey, act like you've been there before, and like that you deserve to be there. And that's what it's all about.
Hey, but I'm a major in the U.S. Space Force, so it's like that all the time. So every now and then I got to dance. I'm dancing in that.
That being said, man, this has been a wisdom. That's the word that comes to mind, man. Wisdom. We've been able to partake and eat off of a tree. You know what I'm saying? Even though I hear my dad speak all the time, I hear Mr. Williams. I hear Mr. Williams through B Money and Julius, when we having conversations. Tony, T has talked about you ad nauseum for the past, I want to say at least the past month and a half. He was like, hey, T, Tony was watching our podcast and he said this, and this, and this. And I mean, we feasted on that for weeks, texting back and forth. And so, what we are trying to do here is leave a legacy. Let's circle back to the very beginning. We just want to leave a legacy. I want my son to be able to watch this when he's 18, 19 years old and say, look at what my dad was doing. There's some other stuff out there that my brother and I do, content wise and stuff like that. But I want him to be able to say, I crossed all the I's and dotted all the T's, as most people say. I know I said that backwards. That was on purpose. But I also want to be able to, for other young men to be able to watch this and say, you can make it. You can make it, no doubt. None of us have gotten to the place where, we feel like we're too big that we can't pick somebody up. So pick somebody up, bring them along with you. If they're not meant to come with you, cut them off and keep it moving. But always push and do better. And that's what I want to leave everybody with on this episode. Anybody else got anything before we close it out?
Yep. Can I leave y'all with something? From my perspective, I was just sitting here watching and I counted up the number. I see B Money. I see my son, Brandon. I see Moses, my man in the corner. I see Julius. I see 5 men. And I'm into biblical numerology. I don't play the numbers, but I'm into biblical numerology. And the number 5 represents grace. And so as I see this group of men, this group of 5 young men, it represents grace. And so I want you all to remember what grace is. Grace hung on the cross. Grace went to the grave. Grace got up. Grace ascended. Grace sent the Holy Spirit. And so you all represent grace. And so as you permeate your own communities, I pray for God's grace over each and every one of you. And I would be remiss as a pastor if I didn't pray. And so with that being said, I've got to pray, and y'all can close it out however you want to, but this is going to be my last word. So Father God, in the precious name of Jesus, we lift up your name on high. We give you glory. We give you honor. We praise you for who you are. We thank you for your many blessings that you have bestowed on these young men. We thank you for the strength of these young men who have just set the example, set the bar high for all of us, not just them, but for all of us to see that there is hope in community. We thank you for their fervor. We thank you for their persistence. We thank you for their favor that you have bestowed upon them. Now continue to bless them in everything that they do. Continue to keep them in your perfect will and in the perfect way. We know that discouragement is going to come to them, but we know that they can process discouragement. And we thank you and we praise you already that you have brought them on the other side of through. Thank you. And we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen and amen.
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 With that being said, this has been another episode of The Fellas. Thank y'all, man.
That was good. That was food for the soul right there.